Hey there, welcome back to OwlDragon Adventures. I'm Scott Kegler,
And I'm Rob McPherson.
and today we'll be reviewing Moonrakers by Ivy Studio. So Moonrakers is actually a couple of years old, but it has been a game that
It's impossible to find.
Yeah, very impossible to find, and the secondary market was kind of insane on it. Fortunately, I focused on this as one of my Friday day grabs at PAX Unplugged, and was able to get a copy.
Yeah, they said they were going to have only 100 copies. From what I've seen from reviews, talking about PAX afterwards, they actually had a little bit closer to 200 copies.
They were all gone, though.
But they were all gone. I did see them on Saturday. Yep, but by late Saturday they were gone. They had like 4 copies left by noon.
So I was able to get a copy of this and some additional content for the game, which we'll talk about when we get into value on the game. But essentially, Moonrakers, it's a deck building game with a fun co-opetition negotiation mechanic in the game. You are the crew of a spaceship, all working together as like a resistance against this fascist government on planet Earth, and you are working together as scientists and criminals to get resources and defeat them. But in order to do that, there needs to be a leader of the Moonrakers to band together all of these various ships. So you are competing in the game to have the most prestige and become the leader of the Moonrakers. Over the course of the game, with your deck building, you are going to be buying with your resources new ship parts for your main board. So improving that'll help you get new cards. Also gives you special abilities in the game.
Yeah, that's the primary way of deck building.
Mostly, yeah. Or you can flat out buy crew, which are other cards that go into your deck. So they act as adding to your deck, but also give you they're basically a stronger version of a base card.
Yep. So the base cards are like blasters, damage, thrusters, reactors. I'm trying to remember. I only played this once. Shields. Yep. And a miss.
Yeah. So you'll be familiar if you play a lot of deck builders. That is all pretty intuitive. Where it gets interesting is when your turn, you're basically deciding whether or not you want to try to fulfill a contract. And a contract might be a rescue mission, an escort mission,
kill
mission, some sort of job you've agreed to take for your ship. And at the early part of the game, you have a limited amount of cards. You're only drawing a hand of 5, and you only have one action. There are ways to kind of cascade actions through other cards. And that's why you want to build that. But even with that ability and playing your cards in a clever way, you might not have the resources to do a very difficult mission. So that's where the game opens up to this negotiation side. Like, hey, I want to go do this, pirate mission where I steal these resources and deliver them somewhere. But I don't think I can do this alone. Will anybody at the table help me? And that's where you can go around the table and negotiate with the other players to complete that contract.
Yes, that's where the temporary alliance is part of the subtitle of this game comes in.
Yeah, so you get to do, so you can offer anything that's available in that contract, because there's going to be 3 different rewards typically. There's going to be prestige, which is victory points. There's going to be
currency.
Currency, coins. And there's also these bonus cards that you can draw, which are basically free ship parts or free crew. And you can negotiate. You can say, hey, what do
they're all fair game in terms of what you can negotiate away, which I like about it because it's very open-ended in terms of like, just negotiate.
And you have a time to do that, and then once that's completed, you try to fulfill the contract. And if you're successful, you all get to share what you agreed upon as the treasure. And you finish, you do a buy phase like any deck builder. If you have resources, you as the active player buy things, and you continue to build your deck until one player gets to 10 prestige. So the gameplay is, and we can jump into review here, but the gameplay is pretty atypical deck builder for the most part. Like I liked a lot of that.
It doesn't stand out as a deck builder in any way, but at the same time, it does the deck building very well. Yeah.
What makes the game really shine is that temporary alliances piece and the negotiation.
Agreed.
And the theme, and not every deck builder theme really comes across. By having the ship player board in front of me and having me able to build the ship and crew, that was really fun to have the crew be cards. So like I liked it on the thematic side for the gameplay.
Yeah, my only ding about the thematic side of things is I had completely forgotten what the storyline was until you just were saying it right now. However, the space flight and the missions and everything, that all completely plays. It's just the whole, we're trying to be the best of the best in there. Yeah, it's just not important to me.
Right, anyway, so it's definitely not theme forward. It's mechanic forward for a game. But where the game shines is in those negotiations. It got really fun. We played it with a 4-player game, and I've played it solo as well. But which you don't get that aspect as much.
I'm super proud of Matt for that last move.
Yeah.
So our friend Matt, we were playing, and I had joked early on about, you can totally say like, I'll help you, and then at the last minute just be like, discard. And he didn't quite do that, but he had a special ability that as long as he didn't play shields, he could be very useful to the mission. And so he played shields. And he just kind of looked at us like, what?
Well, there's fun objectives, so he had an objective to portray, so I like that part of the game as well. So again, but as a deck builder, it is very solid.
Yeah.
But I still really enjoyed the gameplay and still think it is a high level gameplay for me because of that negotiation, and it played pretty tight. I want to say it was like a 90-minute game.
Yeah, and that was for 3 of us playing it for the first time, and you playing it for the first time as multiplayer because you played it solo before.
Right, yeah, but
so
I
you understood mechanics, if
sure.
not full negotiation tactics and such.
And everyone seemed to be having a good time with it. Like it was a nice, fun. What I like with a game like this, and it reminded me again a very different game, but. Tiny Epic Galaxies, where any type of game where you can give me something to do during other people's turns is engaging and exciting because it keeps the game moving. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What are you doing over there?
That is one thing that I did say. We kind of came up with our own system for it, but I do wish there was some sort of token to remind us whose turn it was because no one else seemed to have this problem, but I could never remember whose turn it was. So what we were doing is we were taking the contract we were attempting to complete and put it in front of the person who is the leader of that mission.
Yeah.
That worked, but I think it would have been nice to have just a little token to pass around for turn. Not necessary, but a little bit better optics, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair feedback. I had no problem with that, but like it... Again,
ADHD, man. ADHD.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it as a game from gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got more than I thought I was going to get out of it. At first, I had a little bit of, not buyer's remorse, but like, because I had to have it when I passed. Right. And then it was like, I don't know if I want to get to the table. And then.
Yeah, no, definitely a high gameplay for me.
So next, on accessibility. So as far as deck builders go, and if you've played a lot of deck builders, as I mentioned, it's very intuitive. Solid deck builder, you're going to go, okay, this is how I get my cards. You're going to ask the type of questions. If you don't play a lot of deck builders, or you're not necessarily as risk management is not intuitive to you when you have hand management in a deck builder, like, do I think I can dig for this card, or do I even know that I should dig for this card?
Right.
And applying that to the contract part of the game is not I don't necessarily ding the game for it, but I can't say it's a high accessibility.
Yeah, so this is something we've actually just had a conversation about, is with the accessibility, this isn't really a ding against the game itself. It's more our recommendation to the community in terms of it's not an accessible game style because there's a lot of moving pieces behind it. It does what it does very well, but what it does is not for new players. Without guidance from people who know what they're doing, or without someone who's just willing to take on the headache at first of figuring it out.
Right, or being willing to teach the game external to a game happening as well, because it's a game of negotiations. It's trickier to give. You can't really like be a player and give advice. Like I was able to teach it because our table has people that have played a lot of deck builders, and we can jump into it.
And what's funny is usually my strength in these type of things is I'm good at the deck building side or the bag building side. I'm good at doing that. And the negotiations I'm usually not that great at, but I came in second.
Yeah.
And it was almost entirely because of negotiations, because I had so many reactors in my hand. At one point I had 5 cards. They're all reactors, which just let me play 2 more cards from my hand.
Well, from an accessibility side, it might not be intuitive for you if you haven't played a lot of games like this, that some people want it, even though I was in the lead, they still want to negotiate with me because one of the things in the game is there's these dice, these hazard dice, which can be negative victory points. So it's like, it's worthwhile to put a carrot out to the guy who might win if he can lose enough points.
We were trying to bait Scott at the very end. It's like, all right, we'll give you your 1 victory point to win, but you have to take 2 of the hazard dice. And that's tempting to him because he can roll whatever he wants because he's magical.
So, but a little bit to get into there, particularly from the strategy in the game is where I think it's maybe less accessible.
Yeah.
But still, I would say from a rule book, fantastic rule book.
Yes.
Very intuitive, great iconography. And again, this is not in the base game, but it is there as far as there's cardboard game boards for this. It is pretty well organized on the game space, and you can understand everything and follow what's happening where. I got the neoprene mats, which I think cleans it up very nicely. I am an addict for neoprene mats, but it cleans up the board really nice.
It does, absolutely. So it's going to be a mid-accessibility with the nod to the fact that that's more of a genre mid rather than specifically this game per se. They do a great job mitigating the accessibility.
So next, design. From a design standpoint, I really love how the cards are laid out. The contracts are easy to follow. We had mentioned on the accessibility side, the design, so the iconography and everything makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Everything's easy to read from a design standpoint. I was a little worried at first because it's a lot of, because they're going for a space theme, so lots of dark blues and dark text. But contrasted with these really bright, you can probably see it a little bit better on the back here, these bright neons as well. You have the ships on the front, but there's so much of those bright colors in the game.
Yeah. I know you had mentioned it's not specifically your art style. On the other side of things, however, it is absolutely my art style. This box is one of my favorite game boxes I've ever seen. I just find it completely gorgeous. It's simple. It's
you like
sleek.
Stuff,
I like crisp.
Yeah.
It's like I love the Unsettled box, and you're like meh on it. But this is the same thing. I just absolutely love it. I want it on my shelf, even though I probably won't play it solo, so I don't need it on my shelf. But at the same time, I'm just like it's so pretty.
So yeah, I still think it's a high design because I think I think it was very attractive. From a storage solution side, the box inside is gorgeous. As far as putting everything together, it all fits in there nice. It can stand vertically on my shelf, which is how I like to store my games if I can. So perfect from a design element.
That's another
there.
thing you and I differ on.
Yeah.
I'm a horizontal storage kind of guy.
If I can get vertical, I prefer. If the box doesn't cooperate, I will do what I need to.
But yeah, definitely a high on design for me. Beautiful game.
Next is from a quality standpoint. Number of things that are really solid. Again, I like that there was this addition of it's a fun thing, but addition of a like a comic book that they added inside to tell the story
I
I
gotta read that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's light. It gives you a little theme. It's not very long, but I just like that there's that addition there. So from that quality standpoint, I think that's a nice little add. They didn't have to put it in there, but they did.
Yeah, so Scott mentioned he bought the neoprene mats to go to it, which definitely bump up the quality even more. But even just the base components, the cardboard's nice thick cardboard. It's got the linen texture to it, which helps with durability. The cards are all linen. Again, you got the upgrade for the card sleeves for that, because it is a shuffle-heavy game. So I totally understand getting the card sleeves. I agree with that decision. The
coins in the game are fantastic.
Yeah. And default metal coins. If you're a publisher out there, come on. The metal coins now, they're not that much more than the plastic ones because everyone's making them now.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they look great.
Oil prices are going up, so plastic prices are going up.
Yeah. So I just that's that like ADD thing. I love to have the coins
tactile.
there. Yeah. So I love that. What else? Oh, the dice are good quality dice for the hazard dice, even though you don't want to roll them. They're very nice in the game, and everything is just solid. So for me, on a quality, the box is a nice quality box.
Yep.
Very happy with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a high on quality for me too.
Last
but not least,
finally is value. So fortunately, I got to pay retail for this game because I know there's some people that have bought the secondary.
Yep.
I would not. I really love the game, but I don't think I would pay the secondary market price. What, 200?
Yeah,
I've seen 250.
200 to 250 for this.
No, I paid $60 for it retail at from IV Studio at the.
That said, if deck building and negotiations are like your top things, I wouldn't fault you for paying eBay prices on it. It does those. It does those things really well, though. So if those are like your two must-play type of genres, I could see it. I personally wouldn't spend the 200, 300 either.
But from a retail standpoint, for $60,
totally get it.
I will want to get to the table a lot. As deck builders go, this one's a lot of fun. The theme has me. It's an engaging deck builder. I'm not just watching somebody do their turn.
Yeah, no, there's very little downtime. The only downtime is if you pass as being an ally on a contract, and even then, the contract phase lasts like a minute or two because you're just kind of going click, 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 pick up cards. Like
limiting the action and having it to be something that you have to you have that cascading success.
Yeah, even if you somehow get through your entire deck because of cascading actions, you're gonna have at most on a long game, maybe 20 cards you play down. And that'd be insane to be able to do that.
Yeah, it really
I could see it happening. Yeah. And even that's going to take a minute to put them all down.
Yeah, you hit the brakes pretty quick. There are things that get really neat as you get these synergies from your ship parts and your other... But
So my synergy, which I accidentally stumbled into, was that I just kept gaining extra actions. Mm-hmm. So at one point, I started my turn. I'm like, all right, so I have 6 actions to start with. Yeah. And I only needed to play 2. So I was like, 1, 2, I'm done.
But yeah, so for me, it's still a high value because I think it's going to be one I won't struggle to get to the table. No. I enjoyed it a lot. Everyone at the table enjoyed it. And it plays pretty quick, as I had mentioned. And
I know you said you're very interested in playing a 5-player, which I am too. I kind of want to play a 2-player just to see how head-to-head plays. Yeah, I think you're going to be more shrewd with the
early game. It'll be the same thing where I feel like you're like, no problem, until you both hit about 4 or 5 victory points, and then it's okay.
Yeah, now and then I think it'll slow down because you're not going to be able to go after those insanely hard contracts.
Right. Now I'd be curious the different player counts right now. I've only played it 1 and 4 now. But very highly recommended. Yes. Final for me is a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm going to land at the same 4.5 out of 5 on that. And again, I just like to note that it's really the genre that has dinged it for me, not the game itself. I think the designers did a great job bringing this to the community.
Absolutely. And one last shout out to Ivy Studio, had a blast at their
their booth at PAX
Unplugged. Also playing, which we're really looking forward to, and we also both backed, is Mythic Mischief, which will be coming out hopefully later this year.
Yeah, we spoke about it a bit in one of our PAX videos. I think we spoke about it a little bit in our January vlog, but you're going to see us talk about it a lot more. It was a really fun abstract game, quick playing. We played through an entire game in 15 minutes, and that was learning it.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. So it was great to play this other game from them. Very excited, and more to come from Ivy Studio.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed joining us on our board game adventure.
And best of luck on your board gaming adventures.